What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Presented by Raymond. Empower your purpose with Raymond. I'm Daniela Bruce, and I will soon be joined by Art Regner and Carly Johnston. You make sure you're liking, subscribing, and turning on your live notifications wherever you are tuning in to today's show so you don't miss a single second of the Word on Woodward. But if you do, we do have a Word on Woodward YouTube page, and you can listen to the show as a podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify. Today's show is going to be just as great as all the rest of our shows. We have Ken Kale joining us in a little bit, and then we have interviews with Ted Kulfan, the Red Wings beat writer for the Detroit News. And then we have MLB.com's Jason Beck, former Tiger Brian Pena, and the Red Wings Director of Amateur Scouting, Kris Draper. So a lot to get to. We're going to bring in Art right now. Art, I am still laughing. Right before we got on air, I was checking out our show's promo today that the Red Wings posted on Twitter from your interview with Kris Draper. It was very funny. So if you haven't checked that out, head over to the Red Wings Twitter because Draper definitely knows how to give you some crap.
Well, Drapes, I'm surprised he didn't call me Regs because that's what he usually calls me. Obviously, I've known Kris a long, long time. And what's interesting is he always has my well-being is top of mind for him. Whatever I say to him, he always says, "Oh no, you got to cut out the caffeine. You've got to cut out the caffeine. You can't go to bed at 4 a.m. You can't do this, you can't do that." But it's better. It's better than when my weight fluctuates all the time, and it's really fluctuating now since I'm going to make an appearance in the Thanksgiving Day parade as a balloon flying overhead. But with that said, Steve Yzerman, many times when he was a player, would pat my stomach and ask me when I'm due. So, if you're going to cover a room, get ready for, them busting your chops. It's a great interview. So there you go.
Well, Art led us right into our first topic of the Big Three presented by Chevy. He will be featured in the Thanksgiving Day Parade this year. No, I'm just kidding. That is not the topic of the Big Three. Let's talk a little Red Wings. We are still waiting on deals for Anthony Mantha and Tyler Bertuzzi. In full disclosure, when Tyler Bertuzzi filed for salary arbitration, I had Art on the line kind of explaining to me exactly what this would mean for Tyler Bertuzzi and the Red Wings.
I practiced in my balloon move. Santa is on his way. Santa is on his way.
Oh man, this goes off to a great start today, guys. Thank you so much.
Oh yeah. I think we're a little loopy. Is the NHL draft over yet? Is it over? Are they still picking?
I think they're in 6th round right now, Art. A little bit more to go.
Woo!
So, okay, back to Tyler Bertuzzi, salary arbitration. He has filed for it. And as I said, you and I were talking about it. You were kind of explaining to me that this really isn't as bad as it may sound. They are going to go to arbitration, and eventually an arbitrator, if they don't come to a deal, that is, and eventually an arbitrator will pick which deal is better because both of them will come to the table with a deal. And I believe that is a 1 to 2 year deal, depending on what each side brings to the table. So our depth a little bit more about what salary arbitration means for Tyler Bertuzzi and the Red Wings.
Well, Tyler Bertuzzi chose to go to arbitration. Now, a team can also choose to go to arbitration, but if they're going to go to arbitration with one of their players, they have a 48-hour window after the Stanley Cup final is over in order to take that player to arbitration. Since Tyler decided to go to arbitration, the Red Wings then can submit either a 1 or 2 year deal to the player. And then Tyler will receive this before the arbitration, obviously, and then figure out. They'll sit between an arbitrator. Tyler will have a figure of what he wants. The Red Wings will also have a figure. Now, the arbitrator has 48 hours after that hearing to decide. Now, he could take the player's offer. He could take the Red Wings offer, in this case, Bertuzzi's offer or Detroit's offer, or he could go somewhere in the middle. He doesn't have to take either or. He can somewhere in the middle. And so what usually happens, like 9 out of 10 times, and I know under Ken Holland, Steve, I'm not so sure about, but I know Kenny never liked to go to arbitration because you sit there and there's a list of criteria that you can pick apart on a player. There's certain areas that you can't go to, but most of it is, you sit there and you end up saying negative things about a player that I'm in arbitration with him. So, they never liked that process. So the last player to go to salary arbitration was, whom I've affectionately called Tommy Tatar. Tomasz Tatar went to salary arbitration. He actually went through the hearing, and I am not exaggerating. It seemed right after the hearing was over, he signed a new 5-year deal with the Red Wings. So this can happen at any time. If anybody's been on a jury, and if you sat in on a jury, I can't tell you a couple of times I've sat on a jury. The trial's about to begin, and then the prosecutor gets up and says, "We just came to a plea deal." It's kind of very similar. They can, jury dismissed. We'll validate your ticket for the parking structure. But anyway, with all that said, this is. I think that the question I get most all is why Mantha didn't do it. Mantha was hurt. And one of the criteria you can use as a team is number of games played in injury history. Mm-hmm. So I could see the BT Express saying, I would probably lose if I went into arbitration. So I'm just going to negotiate a deal with the Red Wings. I mean, obviously they want Big Tony. I mean, the Express is, he's a huge man. He's a premier goal scorer. If he does stay healthy, it's a question mark. I know, but he's getting a little older, maybe less hot-headed out on the ice. Mantha can score 40 goals. I know that. I know in my heart that the BT Express is a 40 goal scorer. So I think that he probably figured my chances of getting more money are probably better negotiating directly with Steve. Whereas Bertuzzi looks at it and says, "Hey, I've gotten 20 goals the last couple of years. My point total is sort of up there with Larkin's. I'm an all-star. I think I can get some bread from the Red Wings," and I think that that's why he probably did it. But what's this all leading to, Daniela? They're going to decide before the arbitration. I think that what I said right now is all true, but most likely they're going to settle before.
All right, so we'll hope to see deals from Tyler Bertuzzi and Anthony Mantha. I mean, we know their dogs are going to be in the 2021 pet calendar, so that has to be a pretty good sign, right?
yeah, really. The only thing I'm bummed out about the pet calendar is that Mike Green, was a cat person, and he was holding a cat in that pet calendar. And so if it's all dogs, I think I can file a suit on behalf of my cats about, hey, where are we? Where is the cats?
Maybe you should be in the calendar.
Oh, yeah. First, as the balloon flying overhead.
All right.
Santa's on his way.
We got to move on to our second topic. We're getting too off track here today, Art. Let's get back on second topic of the big three. Tigers update. Instructional League is underway. The Tigers played their first game of the Instructional League against the Toronto Blue Jays yesterday. The first real competition in a long time for some of our Tigers prospects. What I really want to focus on is Riley Green. Yesterday, he addressed the media after the first Instructional League game. And something that really stuck out to me was what he had to say, not about the Instructional League and the competition, but what he said about summer camp and his time spent in the alternate location in Toledo.
I think that summer camp in Toledo was probably one of the best things for me. I learned a lot about myself as a player, and I just learned a lot of things from the coaches there. So my swing feels a lot better. I mean, I learned swing. So, I mean, I feel very comfortable with my swing now. I just learned a lot in the outfield. Did a lot of work up there. So, I mean, I feel pretty good about myself after those past couple months. So.
What do you think about that, Art? Riley Green saying that he thinks his swing looks the best that it ever has. And on top of that, we've heard that really well defensively at that alternate training site in Toledo. So if you weren't excited about Riley Green before, which I'm not sure there were many Tigers fans that weren't, you are now.
Well, look, first and foremost, we talked to Riley Green at the start of the WOW, when we started WOW, I guess back in May. And I swear it looks like he's added 20 pounds of muscle on. Fuller and a lot bigger, and he just turned 20 years old. That's the first thing that I noticed. Secondly, and I've said this, Daniela, nothing against Torque and my man Arthur Mize and Scooby and Manning and Fiedo, but I think Riley Green, 3 years from now, 4 at the most, not only are we going to be talking about him being the best player on the Tigers, he's going to be one of the best players in Major League Baseball. He has it. I know the Tigers are trying to put a lid as him about Riley Green because he's so young, and 2 years ago, he was walking on a stage receiving his high school diploma. But some people, arrive a little bit more quickly, and Riley Green is one of those guys. I mean, look at his maturity. He's 20 years old. 20 years old. That was a great Zoom call. I agree with you. His swing, he feels good. He feels confident. I think it was a relief, too, that he was finally playing against somebody. They played against the Blue Jays instructional league roster yesterday, as opposed to playing against his own teammates. So he really went out there. Lynn Henning wrote a glowing article about him. And what I suggest everyone read. So, the upside for Riley Green is up. I mean, it is just like going up and up. He is ascending onto that Major League stardom mountain. And once he gets to the top, he's going to stay there for a while.
Can't agree with you more, Art. And he also mentioned Spencer Torkelson in the press conference and just said that they're actually really good buddies now. He had compliments of his baseball skills, obviously, but who Spencer Torkelson is as a person. He said he's a really great guy. They ride in every day together. So it's really cool to see them kind of meshing too, because that's the future of our organization right there. But we're talk about that a lot more with Jason Beck later in the show. So let's move on to our third topic of the big three, which is an MLB playoff update. Now, it was a record-setting night in the NLCS. In the first inning for the Dodgers in Game 3 last night, they had 11 runs, including 7 hits. I'm not going to lie, I missed the first inning of that game, and I flipped it on, and I thought whoever was running the scoreboard, the graphics machine, was put in the wrong number. I was like, no way, it's 12-0. It's only the bottom of the second.
The best part about a blowout game when it's 11-0 after the first inning is watching the announcers try to create interest for you to stick around and watch the game. It's like, well, back in 1906, Cap Anderson and the Indians came back from a 14-0 deficit. I mean, I think it's hilarious. I don't even know who Cap Anderson is, but it was a player, I think. And I don't even know if he played for the Indians. But I guess what I'm saying is the Dodgers, I think, are the best team in baseball. I really do. I have an affinity for the LA Dodgers. Many, many years ago, I have a lot of family in California. They knew Maury Wills, again, dating myself. So when I would spend summers out in California, which I did a few times, I would go to Dodger games and then go into the Dodger locker room after. Before I ever went into the Tiger locker room, the LA Dodgers locker room, I would go. Maury Wills would give me an autographed baseball. He was a base stealing champion. I have tons of autograph Hall of Famer balls by Maury Wills. Walter Alston, the manager. Frank Robinson was playing on the who was an Oriole, who was playing on the Dodgers. So what am I leading to? I like the Dodgers. And I'm not a big Braves fan because they were America's team and TBS and all that kind of stuff. But I do like John Smoltz. But with all that said, I watched that game. LA is on the verge of being eliminated here. I mean, Atlanta, is 1 game away from a World Series. So that was a good game. And what's really interesting is Clayton Kershaw is hopefully going to pitch. His back has been acting up, and if he's okay, what'll happen is that he'll pitch today. So the Dodgers, if there's a team capable of coming back from this deficit, it is certainly the Los Angeles Dodgers. I think I might be Yeah, I'm going off the top of my head here, but I think that they're down 3-1. Maybe it's 2-1, which would even be better. Yeah, it's 2-1 in that series. But the Dodgers needed something. Yeah, it's actually Houston that's down 3-1, and I know all of America is rooting against the Astros, which they should. So that'll be interesting if Kershaw can go. Daniela, we got. Hopefully, our staff can check into this. I understand there's some sort of connection between Clayton Kershaw and Matthew Stafford. I've never heard about it. So we'll see.
Together, and hey, now they both have some back issue too. Matt Stafford had back problems last year too. Maybe they just have too much in common.
Well, Miss Stafford caught him in high school. Maybe they can share the same hospital room if they, if they need back surgery. Hopefully, they're both okay.
They do not need back surgery. Art, you know that you're talking to a big Lions fan here, and I do not need that wished upon me. Okay.
Well, somebody has to be a Lions fan, I guess. Good luck, Daniela, with that one.
Thank you, Art. Thank you. All right. Well, we'll wrap it there for the big three. Again, we'll talk more baseball with Jason Beck later in the show. A big thank you to Chevy. Chevy cares. That is why Chevy Clean dealers are committed to using enhanced vehicle cleaning measures with CDC-approved cleansers before delivering your vehicle after purchase or service. So when you're ready, you can find new roads with confidence. A lot of great interviews coming up in today's show. We've got Jason Beck, as I mentioned. Ted Kulfan will join us. And later for the headliner, Art's going to talk with Director of Amateur Scouting for the Red Wings, Kris Draper, about the draft that just happened or may still be going on, according to Art. We're not too sure about that one. But let's move on to the mailbag right now, delivered to you by Little Caesars. And today's guest is Ken Kale, your radio play-by-play announcer for the Detroit Red Wings. Ken, it's so great to see you as always. Thank you for joining us again.
Great to be on the show again. And Art, I did check. It was Cap Anson who played for the Chicago Cubs. He played like 22 seasons. Actually was a really good ball player.
No, I do. I always like the name. I wasn't, I'm going off, the adrenaline's flowing today. And so, but I knew it was Cap somebody. And he played in the Midwest. Yeah, really. Well, Ken's always been the guy he's my check and balance. Trust me.
Well, we got to have that in politics today, right? We got to have a lot of checks and balances.
No doubt. Definitely that is sorely lacking.
Let's get into our mailbag questions for today, you guys. The first one is for you, Ken. Glenn from White Lake asks, Steve bristled at this last week, but how affect the moves that he makes now?
Well, that's a good question, but I don't think it's going to deter the Red Wings whatsoever in the next couple of years. I mean, if you look at it, and you can protect 7 forwards, 3 defensemen, and 1 goaltender. Now, the key to remember is that all first and second year players with pro experience and all unsigned draft choices will be exempt, and you can't take those players away. So, all the guys over the last couple of years that the Red Wings drafted are pretty secure. Just to give you an example, like Philip Zadina, Joe Veleno, Mo Seider, they're all exempt, so nobody can take them away. Now, what you have to remember is that there are some players that have been drafted in previous years that you might want to consider. One of them is Gustav Lindstrof back there on the blue line. It'll be his 3rd professional season, so obviously the Red Wings would want to protect him. You've got Michael Rasmussen, he's another player, and Dennis Cholowski. Now you have to figure out what you're going to do with those 3 players. I don't think it's going to deter anything at all. If the Red Wings play a season, which we're all hoping that they will, whether it's 82 games or 40 games or what have you, it doesn't really matter if they bring people in because come the expansion draft, these players are well protected and a lot of them are exempt.
So, Ken, for the Red Wings, it may not matter as much, but did it matter some for other teams that were making moves during free agency?
Well, yeah, obviously other players that are playing and they've got over 2 years of experience, then teams are going to have to protect them. But, if you're the Seattle franchise, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you take a page out of the Vegas book. And when they came in, they actually did some really good things. I mean, they picked up some top-notch players that were 3rd, 4th line players. One of them is Jonathan Marchessault, who came in and just lit it up for the Vegas Golden Knights in their first year in the National Hockey League. So if you're the general manager of the Seattle franchise, obviously you're looking for players that are currently on NHL rosters right now that won't be protected, and you're hoping that they will gel like a Marchessault did.
Well, Art was all amped up about baseball earlier, so we're going to keep it on baseball for your question. Art, question 2. Bonnie from Commerce asked, kind of surprising news that Rick Renteria leaving the White Sox. How does this affect the Tigers in their search for a manager?
Well, I mean, it's interesting because I think if we all know one thing about the White Sox, they are a very dysfunctional organization, as opposed to the Detroit Tigers, who are a very stable organization. Al Avila signed that 4-year contract extension. They have a plan. We're starting to see it take fruition. Now, on the field, the White Sox are a great team. I mean, led by, Lucas Giolito, the fine starter that they have, and then Tim Anderson, perhaps maybe the best player in baseball, leading at shortstop. So they're a little bit further. I will say that. They're a little bit further along. So if you're Cora, who now supposedly is rumored to be going back to Boston, but we'll have to see. AJ Hinch, obviously the Tigers, he has a history with the Tigers. He was a catcher for the Tigers. Will he come here? Will he want to come here? Perhaps he'll want to come here. Who knows? But those are probably your 2 prime candidates. Of course, both of them are cheaters, so they have to wait until after the World Series before we can officially talk to them. And so, I think Cora probably will end up going back to Boston. Now, what's AJ Hinch going to do? And I still think that whole baseball cheating scandal was horrible. I just think it was horrible. And, and I hope Houston just gets creamed and is flushed out of these playoffs. But with that said, I think AJ Hinch would be a great manager for the Tigers. I mean, Marcus Timms, George Lombard, some of the players that, Lloyd McClendon, they have history with the organization. If they wanted to go maybe a little bit outside the box, even though I know he's been a hitting coach for the Yankees, I like Lombard too, who's the first base coach for the Dodgers. But I'm thinking maybe Marcus Timms, bringing Marcus back to Detroit, that might be an interesting mix. That's one of those mixes though, where it's either going to work or it's going to fail. And we're going to know pretty early on because he doesn't have managerial experience. But sometimes, the guy's just waiting for a chance, waiting for an opportunity. If I were going to maybe, again, as I said, think outside the box, I might go with Marcus Timms. But if you really want to play it safe and you want to hire the manager that you think that can take him to the promised land, because the Tigers are only going to get better, as we know, I think that, AJ Hinch is probably the guy. I don't think it's going to affect him very much at all. I really don't. I mean, Chicago's a prime job, but I think you remember, even though, I remembered what the question was finally. No, but what I want to say, what I wanted to say is that on the field, Chicago's a very attractive team. And obviously, as a manager, you manage on the field. However, you also have to deal with the front office as a manager. Your general manager, ownership, everybody else. And it really seems like that could be a deal breaker for any potential manager when they look at the situation of what Chicago is and how their front office is. They might say, I'd rather go to a stable situation with a team that young talent as the White Sox and a team that's up and coming, maybe a little bit more unproven, but Detroit could be that team. So I don't think it's going to have too much of an effect. And I think there's candidates out there, and I think there's candidates that have ties to Detroit. So I'm eager to see what Al Avila is going to do.
So the answer to the question is it doesn't really affect the Tigers manager search. Am I getting that correct here, Art?
I don't think so. Like Kenny knows, like the Red Wings are a great organization. Everybody wanted to come to Detroit as a player. If you could snag a job in the Red Wing front office, everybody wanted to do that because it's solid and stable ownership. There are other franchises. That's why everyone's like looking at Ottawa and saying, God, with that Melnick guy, I can't believe that they seem to actually finally know what they're doing. I mean, there's some instability. All you have to do is just look at teams and see, front office is the key ingredient to being a successful organization. I mean, without a doubt, And Chicago's front office is, kind of teeters around all over the place. Tigers are straight ahead, so I don't think it's going to have much of an effect.
Daniela, this is going to be an important hire for the Detroit Tigers because they're in a situation right now where a manager that they select is going to have some type of experience, managerial experience at the major league level, I believe. And also, he has to be able to deal with young players as well as they continue to get better, as Art mentioned. So, those scenarios and try to choose a guy that will fit into both of those situations.
Ken, just a real quick follow-up because I know we're falling behind a little bit on time here, but when you're talking about a guy that will mesh well with our young players, are you seeing the Tigers hiring more of a bridge the gap type manager or somebody that will be here long term?
No, I think they're looking at a manager that'll be here, and he'll be here to the time, hopefully, the Tigers make it to the World Series. I don't think you can go in right now just looking at a stopgap type manager. I think you look for the best possible candidate, a guy that's got the experience and who can deal with young players and really teach them along with his coaching staff along the way to become very, very successful.
It's definitely going to be an exciting time for the Tigers. We should get some news on that within the next couple of weeks. Ken, we're going to go back to hockey with your third question. Cheryl from Livonia asks, now that we see contract D-men are getting in the free agent market with Pietrangelo, Krug, Brody, Gustafson, I can't talk today. Gustafson, there we go, etc. Does that make the Stetcher and Merrill deals look that much better?
I don't know if it makes it look better. All I know is that the Red Wings got a couple of veteran defensemen at a good price, and I think it's good for the players and it's good for the organization as well. We knew going in that Steve Yzerman wasn't going to pay a lot of money for a free agent and not give him a lot of terms. So what the Red Wings got, I think, will fit in nicely back there on the blue line. If you look at who the Red Wings weren't bringing back on the blue line and who they have now with Mark Sir, and you've got Roenick back there, to Kaiser. They've got a pretty good blue line core right now and a lot of veteran experience back there. And they replaced, veterans like Erickson and Trevor Daley as well. So that's what I look at. I look at it's a good deal for Detroit. They're not spending a lot of money. They're players too that you could probably be moved at the trade deadline if that's the direction you want to go. And you're really not putting a whole lot of money or expectations, I guess, in them right off the bat here. And if they continue to play well, then you can offer them an extended deal once their contract expires. The other thing, John Merrill's going to be a good defenseman back there on the blue line. I like the fact that he's a Michigan native, wants to be a Red Wing, and anytime you have a guy that wants to play for your organization, he's really going to play and really give you his all.
Definitely couldn't agree with you more there, Ken. Again, it's exciting. The Red Wings got some great free agents, had some great deals. Steve Yzerman did exactly what he wanted to do. So exciting for the Red Wings as well. And I have been excited to ask you guys this question. I've been waiting all mailbag. Dave from Northville asked, last night, the roast of Scotty Bowman was great. We don't often hear Bowman be funny. So I have to ask, what is the funniest thing you've seen and heard Scotty do? Art, you go first.
Wow. I mean, there's a lot of things that I wish I could tell you, but I will say one thing that Scotty was an odd guy. And, one day he would be embracing you and you'd be like his long lost son or something, and he would talk and he'd be so engaging with you. And then the next day you think, oh, Scotty's walking down the hall. Hey, Scotty, how are you? Boom, straight ahead. No acknowledgement whatsoever. I really thought that was funny. So I got to know this after a while, and it wasn't because, he's focused. He's laser focused, and so I think the thing that I always was able to do, and along with my good buddy Steve Courtney, who works over at WJR, we both collected hockey cards. I collected hockey cards as a kid. And if you watch the roast last night on Fox Sports Detroit, which I did, Jeff Daniels kind of did this too. And I guess this is more of a funny Scottyism, or what he does is that when I knew I would walk in and I wanted to get him talking and you never knew where you were going to go, all you had to do was bring up hockey cards. something about hockey cards, because he must probably have the best hockey card collection in the world, I would imagine. And so one time I go into him and I go, "Hey, Scotty," I go, I found some of the old hockey cards. My mom was cleaning out the basement, and there are these ones that look like you put two hockey cards together, like on top of each other, and they're this big. I go, "Do you know what's the history behind those? Do you know anything about them?" Or, because I don't have many of them, but they got to be a collector's item, right? And he looks back at me and he kind of rolls his eyes. "You're talking about the tall boys?" Like that. He called the cards the tall boys because they were taller than everybody else. And, and I knew once he said that. I mean, I thought, well, whoa, you're talking about, he has that eye roll. Ken, you know what I'm talking about. He'll tilt his head back just slightly, kind of roll it back. And then he looked at me and it was almost maniacal. He even did one of these things. "You're talking about the tall boys?" And I said, "Yeah, I guess. I mean, I'm asking you. I have no idea. That's why I'm asking you the question." And then, obviously, once you did that, you could almost ask him anything because he was, he loved talking about hockey cards. So I don't know how funny it is, but it's definitely true. I've got a great one, and I will say this. I'll say this for another time. I was asked what referee liked him, and he said Bill McQuarrie. I have a really good Bill McQuarrie story, so but that I'll have to save that.
You're just full of good stories, Art. So we'll have to have just one whole Word on Woodward dedicated to Art stories. Maybe for your birthday. Maybe that's what we can do. We were just talking about that. Maybe that's what we can do for your birthday special.
Well, Ken's got to be on my birthday special, which is just 2 solid hours of just me reminiscing. Kenny Cal is definitely going to be on that show.
He may not get a word in. He'll definitely your best Scotty Bowman story.
Well, I got two real quick ones. I remember in the 1997 Stanley Cup final, Dave Lewis was talking to me a couple years after, and he said there was Game 4, and the Red Wings were up 3-0. They were going to win the championship. And about halfway through the game, Scotty is like perturbed on the bench, and Dave Lewis went up to him and said, "Scotty, what's wrong?" And he said, he's looking up into the stands. He goes, "Somebody's sitting in my seats, my season tickets, and I don't know who they are." And I'm thinking, like, here it is, Game 4, and he's already looking at the stands, and he's worried about who's sitting in his seats. So I thought that was pretty funny. But one of the funniest stories was when Thomas Holmstrom was a rookie, and we were in Buffalo, and after the morning skate, the team's eating their lunch, and I'm outside the lunchroom talking with Scotty about the game and just hockey in general. And Holmstrom has to go to the bathroom like really bad. So he gets up, and Scotty knows this, right? So Scotty looks at me and he goes, "Watch this." So as Holmstrom came out of the room, he stopped Holmstrom and he starts asking him question after question after question. You could see Holmstrom, he's like cramping up and he's like dancing around, and Scotty's just chuckling, and finally he let him go, and Homer made a beeline to the bathroom, and Scotty's just like tapping me going, "Did you see that? Did you see that?" And he's just laughing like crazy. So, there are a lot of stories with Scotty Bowman, but as our times, and when you didn't get him on the right day, it could be very challenging.
You know what I always liked Scotty and Homer's relationship? Homer, where started, was not, I think he gave him the high number 90. Sure it was, because he wasn't going to last very long. But you go up to Homer and you say, "How's it going?" And he would always say, because he always mixed up his English a little bit, and he would say, "I'm in Scotty's dog yard. I'm in Scotty's dog house." He would say dog yard. And, we're thinking, boy, if you're in his dog yard, that's probably a pretty messy yard to be in. But anyway, yeah, that was his. Scotty's, what's great about it is Scotty's relationship with each individual player is unique in its own way because he is so unique. Certain guys can, when you start talking about Scotty Bowman, you ask a collection of players, sometimes you'll get the same thing, caring or, whatever, some sort of trait. But with Scotty, every guy has something different to say about him. And, that's pretty much what you can say about Scotty Bowman. I mean, he is, I know it's a cliche, but he's certainly one of a kind.
If you guys did miss the Scotty Bowman roast on Fox Sports Detroit last night, you're in luck because they're going to run it all week long, so you can catch it throughout the week. Another thing that we can watch on Fox Sports Detroit starting tonight at special featuring both Art Regner and Ken Kale. Guys, that was a lot of fun, and you got to talk to Steve Yzerman, so I'm excited to watch the final product on Fox Sports Detroit tonight.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too, and it was a nice conversation. Our pre-draft show, our post-draft show was good, and it was good to sit with everybody, Art, and just reminisce a little bit too.
Yeah, it certainly was, and I have to say, watch closely because Steve Yzerman is wearing some very special Red Wing gear on the top of his head. That is going to make a lot of people.
Art could love Steve anymore. He could, and he did, from what Steve Yzerman chose to wear.
It's a little subtle, I guess, but it's there.
Well, Ken, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. It's always great to have you, and we'll be talking to you really soon. And of course, a thank you to Little Caesars for delivering the mailbag right here on The Word on Woodward. Little Caesars proudly introduces their hot and ready pepperoni cheeser. You get a large pizza topped with classic pepperoni, fresh mozzarella, and a toasted Parmesan and Asiago cheese crust for just $7. Try our no-contact pizza portal or delivery from Little Caesars. We've still got a lot coming up on today's show. Ted Kulfan of the Detroit News is going to join us, MLB.com's Jason Beck, and of course, Kris Draper to finish out the show. But right now, we're going to catch up with Carly.
That's up with Carly, presented by Meyer. And today I'm pleased to be joined by former Tigers player and now manager of the West Michigan Whitecaps, Ryan Pena. How's it going? Thanks for joining me.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled. You know, I can't wait. I can't wait to to answer your questions, and I'm very humbled to be here. Thank you.
Yes, let's do it. I love that attitude. Okay, so it's been almost a year now since you took over the role cap. So let's talk about that first. What is your day-to-day looking like right now in this kind of weird time?
I know it's funny that you mentioned that because it's a little bit different this year. Has been difficult because of the pandemic, but at the same time, we're still trying to do whatever it takes to continue to support our fans, to continue to bring our fans, back to to our game, and hopefully next year we're gonna have a much better opportunity to meet them and for them to enjoy our ball club. But other than that, it just continue to work, continue to get better, and hopefully, like I say, all this crazy time, goes away, and we can go back to play the game that we love and enjoy our time and especially our fans. But right now we're down here in Instructional League, in Lakeland, and we're helping our players. We're helping our younger generation to get better, and we're very excited. We're very excited for this opportunity that the Detroit Tigers organization is giving us, to continue to work, to continue to help our players, to reach their goal, and that's become, a big leaguers and help us to win the World Series.
Very cool gig. A bit of a full circle for you working for a Tigers affiliate. Now let's talk about your time with the Tigers. You had 2 separate stints in Detroit, and then during your first stint, you posted your best career batting average and went to American League Championship Series. Very cool. Can you recount some memories that you had playing with the old English G on your chest?
Oh, such a beautiful time. I learned so much from my teammate. I learned so much from our coaching staff, especially from our skipper, Jim Leyland. I think, a lot of stuff that I do on the baseball field, the way that I manage and the way I interact with our players, I learned that from him. I really appreciate him so much. I have great things to say about him and our players, and especially our fans. It was such a beautiful season, like I said before. We had a tremendous time, and we support each other. Every time that we had a chance to be at the baseball field, we enjoyed our time. We were a family, and we still are because a lot of us still in communication, and that's the beauty about this game. But in 2013. It was the best time that I had in the big league, and unfortunately, we couldn't win at all, but we learned so much from that, and hopefully we can one day be a world champions, and this is what we're working for, and this is one of the reasons that I really appreciate this opportunity that the Detroit Tigers gave me to be coaching now and to help our players.
Is it interesting as a manager of the Whitecaps to look at these kids and kind of see yourselves in their shoes a bit of a few years ago?
I think after I retired in 2018, I went to coaching right away. But at the same time, I knew that my time was over. It's all about our players. It's all about to us to help them to be in a position where they can be successful. And they can count on us. They can count on our organization, and we're gonna do whatever it takes to make sure that our players have the best attention and our players have 24/7, and we are a family, starting with obviously, with our GM Alavila, our player development, and especially, Mr. Dave Littlefield and Kenny Graham, because of, and they really are continue to help us. They really are continue to provide, every information and to give us tools to make our players better. And that is something that I really appreciate about our, we are in the right track. I think, we are one of the top minor league system in baseball, and we have to continue to do that, and we continue to grow. We're very pleased, we're very excited, and all of us, we're very thankful to Eilish, family for give us this opportunity.
Love it. Okay, doubling back just a bit here, but I want to talk about your journey to the big leagues. What got you started, and what got you to where you are today?
I grew up in Cuba, and I defected when I was 16. And one of the things that I did, it was I want to be able to provide for my family down there in Cuba. I want to do whatever it takes, to help them down there, because it's very tough in my country. But at the same time, I want to be able to tell myself, you know what, you can do it. Go out there and take advantage of this great country, America, because America is being great to me and great to my family. And this opportunity that this great country gave it to me, time it was through the Atlanta Brave. They were the one who drafted me. They were the one who gave me a chance to be a big leaguer. And then obviously I went to Kansas City, and then from Kansas City, I went to Detroit, and then from Detroit to Cincinnati, St. Louis, and then I went back to Kansas City, and I finished my baseball career. But I choose to coach because it was for me to hang my cleats. After I saw, my body wasn't responding the same way. I wasn't moving, the way that I want to move behind home plate. And I talked to my wife and her, and it was an easy decision because I was ready. I was ready mentally. I was ready because I give every single day the best of me, on the baseball field, and I respect my teammates. I respect, the jersey that I was wearing, and especially, every single fan that I was representing. So now it's time for me to continue to do whatever I have to do, to put our players in a position where they can be, big leaguers one day.
So you touched a bit on your roots, and with Hispanic Heritage Month wrapping up here on the 15th, I want to talk a little bit more about it. So like you said, you were born in Cuba, came to the States in 99, and now you're manager for a Class A minor league in the big leagues. I mean, how does it feel to be a role model specifically in the Hispanic community?
Our goal is to go out there every single day and continue to represent the Latino community, but especially, that Cuban community, because we are a country that we don't have that much opportunity, and just for me to continue to represent our Cuban people, just for me to become something that a lot of us dream, it's something that is a lot of responsibility. But I feel good. I feel good because I'm going to try to do, and I'm going to do whatever it takes, to continue to, for them to feel proud of me, and especially my family. It's been a little difficult because I haven't been able to go back in a while. But at the same time, there is a lot of people down there in Cuba that they follow my career. But you want to give something back. You want to give something back to your community, country that I saw you when you were younger, and friends and family and and people around the Havana. That was where I was born. They really want to see you. They really want to interact with you. They really they want to get to know you. And we're not allowed to go back, but it's okay. One day we will, and one day, all of us, we're gonna be together, and hopefully, sooner than later.
So talking about going back to Cuba, back in 2015, you did just that when you were with the Cardinals. You took a trip to Cuba with a couple former Cardinals. It was the MLB's first trip to Cuba in over 15 years. What made you want to be a part of that trip?
I did. It was awesome. I think that trip, it was representing a lot. It was representing freedom. It was representing that we can work together. Major League Baseball Players Association, and the Cuban Baseball Federation. I think it baseball clinics down there, with our younger players in Cuba. There were a lot of beautiful people that really appreciate what we did. And it was such an amazing trip that I would love to do that again. I would love to have that opportunity to do that again, because it represents so much for a lot of people. It represents so much for a lot of our fans. But hopefully, one day, we can do it again, and we can go back and trying to continue to grow our relationship between our two countries. But this is about baseball. This is something that I really want to do it. But obviously, I'm not in politics or anything like that. But I think a lot of stuff has to change in Cuba. I think our people deserve better. I think our people, they really need to get a little bit of freedom. Let's put it. But hopefully, it's like you say. We got to stay positive. My people need to be strong, and hopefully one day, everything change, and we can make it happen.
Absolutely. Looking forward to that day that we can. Okay, last question for you.
Yeah.
What are you hoping to accomplish as the manager of the West Michigan Whitecaps as soon as things normalize again?
Definitely, I would love to see our players to be successful. I always preach about that. Our organization preach about that. I think it's their time to shine. I think it's their time to get better. It's their time to, to provide for their family, to continue to get closer to their goal, and that's becoming, big leaguers one day. After all these years that I spent at the highest level, one thing that I know for a fact is that the Detroit Tigers organization is one of the best organizations out there. It's starting with our front office people, our player development, our scouting department, and our fans. We're really going to do whatever it takes, to help our players to reach their goal. And that's what it's all about. That's our goal every single day. And I'm very excited and very humble. And, obviously, everything is possible thanks to this great country, of America. And just continue to go out there and have fun and enjoy it, and help our players to be successful, and give the best of me every single time.
Well, Brian, thank you so much. Really can't thank you enough for your time. I can't wait to see what you do with the team. And it's been great to catch up with you as we wrap up Hispanic Heritage Month.
Thank you so much, and I really appreciate it. And thanks a lot for everything that you guys do. Thanks a lot for this great country. Because we really appreciate you. This country's been giving us, everything that we look for. And excited, and very humble, and very honored to be an American citizen.
Beautiful. Thanks again, Brian, for joining me and catching up with Carly. Presented by Meyer. Daniela, back to you.
Thank you, Carly and Brian. That was great to hear from him. We're definitely going to have him back once the season gets back into full swing and things are back to normal. Right now, we're going to get into Bet You Didn't Know, presented by PointsBet Sportsbook, an official gaming partner of the Detroit Tigers. Of course, we're going to bring in Carly for this one. And guys, we're going to go back to the OG word on Woodward a little bit. We're going to have some trivia today, and it's going to be between Art and Carly. We know I'm not good at trivia, so I just left myself out of this one.
That's not even fair. Art's the trivia king. He knows everything.
Well, the way this works, so here's how it's going to work. I have 4 questions, 2 for Art and 2 for Carly. I have a tiebreaker if needed at the end of it, but you guys are going to get to answer on your own. So it's not really like a competition in the same question, if that makes sense. So at the end of the 4, if it's tied 2-2, we'll go to the final question. Okay.
Okay.
Ready?
Still not confident.
It's okay. I know. Going up against art is tough, especially with the topic.
For real.
That's why, if you had your broccoli behind you, you would win. You would answer those questions.
I tried moving it and it just didn't look good in another spot. So I'm going to have to bring it back.
All right. Well, here we go. With or without broccoli. With or without broccoli. Today marks the anniversary of the opening of Olympia Stadium, you guys. So an iconic Detroit arena here. And the first question for Art is, today in 1927 marks the opening of Olympia Stadium. The first event was a boxing match, rodeo, or a Red Wings game.
Okay, let's see. It's October. Boy, I'll tell you, that's a tough one. I have seen games at Olympia Stadium, though. I am going to go with rodeo.
You're correct. It is rodeo. The International Rodeo opened the venue and ran the entire first week. The NHL's Detroit Cougars didn't play at Olympia until November 22nd. So, Art, okay, you've got one. Keep track of your own scores, because that's not my strong suit either.
You're going down, Carly. You're going down.
I am, Art. I'm not even going to stand here and say I'm not.
Don't expect to be that, Carly, okay? Here's your question. Question number 2. When it opened, the Olympia had the most seating capacity except for which arena? Madison Square Garden, Chicago Stadium, or Maple Leafs Garden?
Okay. What? I don't know when Madison Square Garden was open. I do know it's humongous, but I don't know when it opened. Art, do you by any chance know? Can I phone a friend?
I'm trying to give you a hint.
Okay, so I'm sorry. Can I see them again? It was Madison Square Garden.
I'm looking. Hold on. I'm seeing if we have any help on the Facebook front, Carly.
Oh, okay. Madison Square Garden, Chicago Stadium, or Maple Leafs Garden. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm 27 years old.
I know one answer on Facebook. You want to know it?
I'm going to go for a gamble. I'm just going to say Madison Square Garden.
Correct. MSG and MSG and the London Olympia were the only 2 venues bigger than the old Red Barn. However, it would be the smallest seating capacity in the NHL if it were still an arena today. So fun fact. Art, we're going back to you. Carly has evened it up. You better be ready for this one. Elvis Presley was a frequent guest of the Olympia. How many times did he play Olympia? Was it 6, 4, or 7?
Okay, well, I have to move my little thing here to see because I have a little box. No, I've got a quick Elvis story for you. I used to work a buddy of mine was the sorority father at a sorority. He married a woman part of the sorority, and they were like the couple. And I used to
father.
Yeah. Well, his wife was part of the sorority, and they moved in. I don't know. I don't understand that whole system, But anyway, they would park cars. Wait, this is a pretty good story. They would park cars at Chrysler Arena for events or not park, but direct people. And I used to do that. And then you could go in and see the concert. So this is like in February, and Elvis Presley is playing. And I knew Elvis, and there used to be Elvis Week movies and all kinds of stuff. And I kind of like Elvis. He seemed like a nice guy I didn't know him personally. And so I'm sitting there. And I'm looking at Elvis Presley, and we're done. The lot at Chrysler Arena is full, It's now called the Chrysler Center, but the Chrysler Arena, it's full. And then you could walk in and go see the concert. That was part of it. So I walk in, and I'm walking through the tunnel at Chrysler, which leads out to, to the arena. First chord or something, 1 for the money, 2 for the show, 3 to get ready, go, get go. And I'm walking. And I'm going, you know what? Screw it. I don't want to go see this. And I walked out. It's one of the last times he ever performed live was in Ann Arbor at that show. Obviously, if I would have known that, I would have stayed, But, I mean, so that's my Elvis Presley story. But it's the honest to God's truth. What were the numbers again? How many times did he play?
I knew you were going to say that. I knew it.
I am going to say that, he loved Detroit. He just loved Detroit. So I'm going to say that Olympia Stadium was there for a long, long time. Elvis came in the late 50s through 81. Probably not as many as we thought. I'm going to say 6.
I love no answers. And Art is correct. Again, it is 6. Elvis played his first show there in 1957, and 20 years later played his last show in 77. The only other time he played in Detroit was in 1956 at the Fox Theater. So Art, you had the lead, but not for long. I think Carly's going to get this one right. Okay,
right.
Question. The Olympia was designed by C. Howard Crane, who also designed which Detroit landmark? The Fisher Building, the Guardian Building, or the Fox Theater?
Are you kidding me?
I'm checking the comments again, Carly. Don't you worry.
The hey is this?
Come on, someone watching. What is it?
There you go.
What'd you say, Daniela?
I'm just waiting for someone on Facebook to comment the right answer, and then I'll tell you.
Yeah, the book.
Yeah, come on, guys. Let's go. What about you?
I'm looking. I don't think C has been an answer yet. I don't know where I'm doing like the the elimination process. When you're filling out a test and you get too many bubbles, too many B bubbles, and you got to go with A or C. Yeah. I don't know. I think I'm gonna go C. Fox. Taking a gamble here.
Carly is correct again. I don't know if you guys heard me say that, but she's right. She's right. It is. The Olympia was the only stadium he designed, but specialized in theaters. The Fox Theater is considered to be his crowning achievement. All right, so we're going to need the tiebreaker, and this one's going to operate a little different. It's just a question, no multiple choice. Whoever shouts out the answer first is the winner, and I have a feeling you both know the answer to this.
Dude.
Yeah, exactly. But we don't have buzzers. We should get buzzers. We should get those. All right, here you go. You guys ready? Drum roll. My computer's shaking as I smack it. Okay, there we go. All right, here we go. We mentioned the Cougars and the Red Wings, but what is the other name of the Detroit hockey team?
Falcons!
Finish the question.
It should have been a rule that I had to finish the question.
He's disqualified.
It's even because I knew I was going to do that too. Let me finish.
Falcons, Steve Harvey, Falcons.
Oh my goodness.
Sorry, Curly. I really wanted you to win.
What? What's on the line here? Art really wants the prize.
Well, I'm going to come up with another tiebreaker.
Okay.
All right, here it is. Ready?
Yeah.
Name
and you have to wait
Red Hot Chili.
Question.
All right, I'll wait till the end of the question. I'll wait till the end of the question.
All right. Name 3 Red Hot Chili Peppers songs.
Oh, songs. Californication, Danny California, and Hey Oh.
Carly wins. Art, you just
There. You know what? I like the Chili Peppers. The lead singer's from Grand Rapids and the drummer's from Detroit.
Yeah. I went with the basic songs. but we could have gone with some B-side
What's
tracks.
what's Flea's real name?
Oh my God, I know this. Mark's saying we're running way behind.
I don't, by the way. So you can virtually say anything. I have no idea. But I know that his parents didn't name him Flea.
No, they didn't. It's
Michael.
It's Michael something. Yeah, I can't think of his last name.
I can't take credit for that. That was not me.
Michael Flea. His name's Michael Flea.
All right, I gotta wrap us up here, you guys. We're running long. I don't know who won, so I'll let you guys rock paper scissors that one.
Carly won. Carly won. Carly won.
For Bet You Didn't Know, presented by PointsBet Sportsbook. PointsBet is an official gaming partner of the Detroit Tigers. Download the app and follow PointsBet USA on social media for more information. All right, Carly, since you're the winner of our trivia today, kind of, I don't know, Art cheated, so you definitely win.
I can't celebrate that. I really didn't want
to. That's okay. Art cheated. But he was giving the Astros a lot of crap for cheating earlier, and then he cheated. So, you know what?
I saw him. I would just like to say I saw him Googling. Put it on the record.
All right, Carly, what's going on social media today?
All right. Well, first up, as you said earlier, Daniela, we found Mantha and Bertuzzi with their dogs shooting for the pet calendar for 2021, then would it be? Yikes. So anyway, we have Ellie Larkin here, a Bernedoodle, Dylan's little pup that we saw him get throughout quarantine. That was fun. And then Anthony Mantha with his puppy Millie, he just got her, I think, maybe like a week ago. Sweet little face. And then we know, of course, Aspen Bertuzzi, the star of the show with Tyler Bertuzzi. So look out for that pet calendar. The Detroit Red Wings do it every day. That supports the Detroit Red Wings Foundation and PetSmart. Okay, and then moving on to the Tigers. We saw them post a very, very special, very cool moment in Detroit sports history. 14 years ago, yes, that walk-off homer to send the Detroit Tigers to the World Series. Dan Dickerson with one of the greatest calls of all time. Let's check it out.
Street. In the air, left field. The Tigers march to the World Series.
Amazing. And it's I'm hearing Dan Dickerson yell and talk like that because he is such an even-keeled, calm guy. Then when you hear that back, you're like, oh my gosh, imagine Dan yelling that loud. But it was one of those moments, I think we were all yelling that loud. So really cool to relive that. 2006, can you believe that?
Yeah, I think I've talked about it on the show before. My vivid memory of that, because we were pretty young. I know we always make ourselves sound like we're babies on the show, but 2006, I was 12. So we're listening to it on the radio, actually, in the car, and Dan Dickerson screaming. And then we just started honking and screaming out the windows as we were driving.
Right. Oh my gosh. See, now I can imagine Art yelling something like that, but just hearing Dan Dickerson yell that. Art can't even defend himself right now. Love you. I know, Art. But that's
he's probably talking, but his mic is muted, so it's okay.
Brad's got his mic muted as we're talking about him. All right, well, that's all I have in the shows. Make sure you're sending in your questions for us to answer in a later Let's Socialize.
Thank you, Carly. That's right. You guys use the hashtag Word on Woodward wherever you are watching, and she'll get to those and we'll try to answer them later in the show. We've still got Ted Kulfan joining us a little bit later. And of course, Kris Draper will join Art for the headliner. Right now, we're going to get into Brush Street Beat presented by our friends. I just made a mistake, you guys. Brush Street Beat is going to be later. I apologize for that. We're going to get into Downtown Hockey Town right now. And we're joined by Ted Kulfan. It's time for Downtown Hockey Town, presented by Labatt Blue Light. Today's guest is Ted Kulfan, the Red Wings beat writer for the Detroit News, making his Word on Woodward debut. Ted, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
You're welcome. I've been waiting for you guys' invitation. I mean, seriously, I've been waiting all this time. I mean, you guys have been on for so long. It's like, I was kind of thinking the invitation got lost in the mail or something. It's like, what the heck?
Ted, we have a really long list of guests that are just itching to get on the word on Woodward.
There you go. There you
Until
go.
we get the news.
In all honesty, Ted, we've had to blow Steve Yzerman off several times. I mean, he's always waiting on the line to get on, and we run out of time. So you're in
That's
good
what happened
company.
today, right? I'm taking Yzerman's place here today, obviously.
Steve blew us off finally. It's the other way around.
I'm the backup to Steve Yzerman. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. Sure.
Bad. I would take being the backup to Steve Yzerman. That's pretty good.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's right.
All right. Well, let's get into some of this Red Wings talk. We'll talk about the draft first. Steve Yzerman drafted 12 players in the 2020 NHL draft. Ted, just a general question. What did you think of what the Red Wings were able to acquire in this year's draft?
It was a really busy draft. I mean, it kept all of us very, very busy. That's the first thing. Because it seemed like they had 300 picks. Created a lot of depth in the organization. They filled a lot of needs. I mean, I think, Art, you asked that question one of those days. I mean, they added 4 or 5 forwards, 4 or 5 defensemen, a good goalie prospect. They restocked every position. It was similar to last year. I mean, you hate to hear the cliches, but they really retooled and added a lot of depth to the organization. A lot of picks, a lot of players with potential, and hopefully they can cultivate some of them into the NHL.
Ted, I know during the course of a season, when you're covering the Red Wings, I mean, I know how it is to pound the pavement, pound the beat, as they say. You try to keep up on prospects and what's going on.
A lot of airports.
Yeah, right, exactly. So, but I'm kind of curious. Were you surprised at Lucas Raymond at 4 overall, or?
You know what, Art? I kind of was. I was mildly surprised. I was telling everybody, and you guys may have read the articles. Kind of thought Jamie Drysdale. I really thought, best defenseman out there. Everybody's kind of looking for that type of offensive defenseman, but not shocked by Lucas Raymond. I mean, he's a profile that you hear he's a really good player, really good goal scorer. Got the whole skill set. You can't go wrong. I mean, everybody's been saying, what everybody I've talked to, he's going to be a really good player for them down the line.
Ted, we seem to be at the end of the Red Wings free agency stint here, and they added some players all over the ice, which is definitely what they needed. And you add Mark Stahl into the mix. The Red Wings are going to be icing a very different team than we saw last season. How are you feeling about the team we will see this year?
They should be, on paper, they're going to be better. I mean, okay, that's faint praise considering their record last year, but yeah, they should be significantly better, I think. Maybe not significantly, but better. I mean, you've added a lot of quality, classy veterans who know how to play the game, who know how to go about things the right way. A guy like Mark Stahl, I think, really should help him. I know you guys have talked about it, I think, recently. I mean, Mark Stahl is going to help him. I think Bobby Ryan could really, it's a gamble, not somewhat of a gamble, but if he pans out, he's going to be a really good could be a good goal scorer for them. I like the goalie, Thomas Greiss. I think he's going to help them. I mean, considering the year Jimmy had last year, I think Greiss is going to be a big upgrade. So they're going to be better. How much better, we'll wait and see, but they're going to be a little bit more experienced and there's more depth there. They're going to be better defensively. That's going to be huge. So, I mean,
Ted, when you look at the players, you mentioned Thomas Greiss. Are you surprised? I mean, Steve has always been pretty upfront. He wanted to give out short-term deals, 1 or 2 years. He's been able to do that. How impressed are you with the way Steve has been able to change this roster in quite a short period of time? And I will say, I think make the Red Wings significantly better than they were.
There were a lot of unrestricted free agents, though. I mean, it was just going to be natural that a lot of these guys were going to go.
It's true.
Trevor Daley, Jimmy Howard, Jonathan Erickson. We can go on and on. A lot of these guys. So there was potential for change there. he definitely took advantage of it. There's no question about that. I mean, and think about it next year, you guys. I mean, there's going to be, I think I counted 10 or 11 unrestricted after this year, putting your stamp on a team or whatever. Steve Yzerman's going to have a chance to really put a stamp on it, on this organization. I mean, there could be real wholesale changes next year.
Do you see Steve Yzerman making any more moves leading up to training camp, whenever that may be, December, January start?
I hope not, Danielle. I got vacation time coming up. I tell you, I think there's a possibility. I think there is. I mean, there's some decent free agents out there. There really are, and probably can get them for a really low cost. He kind of sounded like, I don't know about you guys. I mean, I don't know about, what do you think, Art? I mean, he sounded like there was still maybe one or two moves in his sleeve that he could do probably.
Well, I think, and I said this on Tuesday's Wow Show, I think that, it's going to be like a Mark Stahl type deal. If there's a team that's up against the cap, he might take a veteran contract in order to get more assets and take a draft pick. I think that's probably that's probably where he's going to go. Or if there's a potential unrestricted free agent out there who, or he, either the player himself or his agent, contacts Steve and says, hey, look, can we work out some deal, even a two-way deal? I mean, I would imagine the longer this goes, and we're all human beings, right? Human nature. I think guys get antsy. I mean, they're on the phone with their agent. They just want to get some sort of deal, even though whenever the season's going to start, that's still very much up in the air too.
Hey, Art, it's amazing right now. There's like 50, I think I saw it like this morning or this afternoon. There's like at least 50 quality NHL free agents who don't have a job right now. And you wonder how many of those guys are going to get a job and how many of those guys are going to be standing when either the musical chairs kind of end. So it's going to be kind of interesting these last couple months here.
It's completely different. But with that said, I think the Red Wings at this point, if you were to talk to Steve, and eventually we will talk to Steve, that I think they're pretty much set unless somebody approaches him.
No, I agree. And I think the one thing that fans are going to be a little maybe disappointed about, or I don't know about upset, but it sure doesn't sound like we're going to see more at Seider this year. I mean, I know a lot of people are anticipating that. I don't think that's going to happen. It sounds like he is going to play the vast majority of the season in Sweden, and we'll see about that. But I don't know. I mean, I still think, like you said before, they're going to be better. I mean, those guys that they picked up, the ones that they replaced them with, I mean, it's a definite upgrade this year, no question about it. I'll be just curious to see what the season's going to look like. I mean, I don't think they're going to play 80 games. Maybe it'll be more like 50 or 60 games, just like the Tigers. Maybe they'll be more suited to that. I mean, you get off to a hot start. Who knows?
Well, Ted, that kind of leads me into this final question for you. And I know this is hard to answer, but talking about the prospects that Steve Yzerman drafted or that were drafted by Ken Holland, most of them are playing for that season, and it does look like they're going to play the full season over there. So Steve Yzerman is definitely gathering things to ice this team for this year. But I want to ask you where you think the Red Wings are in the rebuild process. It's always hard to kind of judge that, but he's preached patience. Where are we at now that we've had 2 drafts and we've had this free agency?
Still think by the way, that was not Steve Yzerman on the phone either. It's still on the ground level, Daniela, but I think there's progress. I mean, just like we talked about before, they've had 2 drafts now. They've added over 20 prospects, I guess. Yeah, like 25 draft picks, and the kids they had before. You really do see a foundation there. I mean, there's a chance they're going to get better. There's a lot of players there who seem to have NHL potential. Some of them could be, first line type defense pairing. Quality players is what I'm trying to say. So you do see progress, but there's still a lot of work to be done. I mean, these kids are still about 2-3 years away at least. But I mean, I know it's difficult for some fans to hear that they're still a few years away, but if you're blind here.
All right, that's all we need to know. In a few years, we'll see some winning Red Wings hockey. Ted, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. I think we're going to give you a 9 or a 10 for your word on Woodward debut.
Seriously, wow. Okay, hey, thanks. I appreciate that.
But the schedule's but the scale is 25. 25 is the max. So you've got a ways to go, Ted. You're kind of in Toledo right now, working your way towards Grand Rapids.
I tell you guys, that's probably my grade point average at Dearborn Fordson High School. I've got this sliding scale way down there. There you go.
Well, thank you, Ted. We really appreciate
Thank you, Teddy.
Thank you.
I had a lot of fun, guys. Let's do it again.
Of course,
all right, sounds good.
Another thank you to Ted for joining us. And of course, a big thank you to Labatt Blue Light for presenting Downtown Hockeytown. Labatt Blue Light, refreshing Canadian Pilsner. Visit your local retailer when safe to pick up some Labatt Blue Light. Another big thank you to Ted for joining us for Downtown Hockeytown. And now we will get into Brush Street Beat, presented by our friends at McLaren Healthcare. And our guest today is MLB.com's Tigers writer, Jason Beck. Jason, I've got word that you don't have a beard today. Oh, no, you shaved.
Whoa.
I was waiting for the full beard.
No beard this time. No, I shaved. So it's.
But you said it was weather-based.
So we got to play it out.
I'm sorry. We got to call 911. Someone kidnapped Jason Beck. Who is this guy?
As we navigate through the off season and social isolation and not having a whole lot of places to go out, it gives me an excuse to kind of keep things clean.
Well, we appreciate you joining us as always. Now we're going to get into some Tigers talk. And yes, first day of instructional league. I want to ask you in general, with this instructional league and it being the first time that our Tigers prospects are able to play some real competition since March or so, maybe even a little bit before that, how important is it this year?
I think it's huge. It's for a lot of these guys, basically for almost everyone who didn't get invited to the alternate training camp, it's going to be the only baseball that they might see this year. And it basically, it's your best hope to try to salvage something out of this season and try to make sure it's not a lost year development-wise, which for a team with, trying to build up through the system like the Tigers are doing, that's crucial. So, and even for the guys who were in Toledo this summer, it's about, granted, if you're on the 40, you can't do that. But for a lot of those guys, like Riley Green, it's a chance to play actual games against opponents instead of, camp games in which, like, one of your coaches is playing third base, or you can go 3 or 4 innings on a given day because your pitchers aren't stretched out. You don't have enough pitchers who need to throw that day.
Jason, I would imagine your next question to Riley Green will be, based on what he said yesterday, in the playoffs, because he said he would not, because he's such a fan of the Rays. Every time he watches, he loses to a point, and Daniela, you were on the call too, is that to the point where his buddies call him and make sure he is not watching the Rays game. But he said he might tune in. Obviously, he tuned in because the Rays lost.
That would lead you to believe that he thought the jinx was over and that he could at least peak. And sure enough, the Astros, he must have at least been watching during that Springer home run. I think we can take that in mind. So it was funny. I was not anticipating that response. It reminded me of my best friend from college, who was a huge Steelers fan, and when he would lose, so he was convinced that he was jinxing him, so he would not watch the Steelers on Sunday. even if they were on like national TV, which was the only way you could see them at the time.
I have a personal jinx. I can't get too far into it because there's actually multiple stories, but I call it my Jersey Jinx. So every person that I have ever worn a jersey of, something bad has either happened to that player or to the team. One example would be I wore a Denzel Valentine jersey when Michigan State lost to Middle Tennessee State in the first round play tournament. So that's just my one example for the day. But we're going to move on because I actually get sad, really, really, really sad talking about it. But all right. Let's go back to Riley Green. He did speak with us yesterday. And one thing that really stuck out to me, Jason, was that he was talking about summer camp and the time that he spent in Toledo. He spoke really highly of it. He said he thought it was really good for him. Now, we all know that he's not going to get on and bash it and say that he wished it could have been different or whatever, because the situation is it is. But is that something that's encouraging for you to hear? Because I was really encouraged by the fact that he felt he improved so much, even just in Toledo against his own teammates.
I was encouraged by that, because a lot of us, were really kind of wondering how this would go, because it's such a unique, I don't want to call it experiment, but in some ways it was experimental in what they were trying to do at that camp. A lot of organizations try to approach it either as keeping guys ready for injuries or trying to, help prospects continue to develop this year. The Tigers clearly took the latter route, as did quite a few other teams. But you don't know when you don't have enough guys to play, full-fledged 9-inning intra-squad games every day. You don't know how you're going to be able to keep them learning and also allow them to apply some of those lessons in game settings. So the strength, though, is that you're able to have all your instructors, roving and otherwise, all your best instructors in one site instead of having them spread out across 4 or 5 or 6 affiliates. Instead of having your roving guys going between Toledo and Erie and West Michigan and then hopping down to Lakeland to check out A-ball and the Gulf Coast League guys, you're out working with the same group. And that's huge. And I think that makes a big difference, especially with a guy like Riley Green. And you also had a chance to push a guy like Riley because, you're grouping him in with a lot of guys who would otherwise be in AA and AAA ball, even though Green finished last year at low Class A West Michigan.
Jason, I don't want to continually make this the right Green, segment, but looking at him yesterday on that call compared to where he was at the start of the summer session when we interviewed him on the Word on Woodward, it looks like, and I know he just turned 20, that he filled out, his body is filled out. He looked like he put on 20 pounds of muscle. I want to temper this, but I think, I said it earlier, 4 years from now, I think he's going to be the best player on the Tigers. I think there's just something special about him. Try to quell my enthusiasm, Jason. Because I think that Riley Green, when it's all said and done, he will be at the apex of what makes the Tigers great.
I'll say this. You watch what has made the Tampa Bay Rays so good this postseason, and you watch games like they've had where you see outfielders making impacts both at the plate and in the field, catching seemingly everything in sight. And I don't think it's far-fetched to say he can be that type of two-way impact player for the Tigers, really a five-tool player potentially. And when you look at, how the Tigers are going to succeed, especially playing in a big ballpark like Comerica, to where if you can have a plus defensive outfield that can cover a lot of territory, that can make a huge difference. And I think Riley Green can be at the center of that.
And the Tigers need a new manager, and they will be hiring one probably within the next few weeks here. What direction do you see the Tigers going in to make that hire?
Well, right now, they're looking at some first-timers. They talked with Dodgers first base coach George Lombard recently, I believe in between playoff rounds. They talked with Yankees hitting coach and familiar face Marcus last Friday. And I expect they're going to be talking soon with Pirates bench coach Don Kelly. None of them have managed before, but all of them have pretty good resumes, especially George Lombard interviewed for the Pirates managerial job last offseason. Marcus has certainly earned a lot of respect for what he's been able to do with Yankees hitters. Not necessarily the superstars, but guys like Gio Urshela and Luke Voigt have really blossomed under his watch and the Yankees' watch. And Don Kelly certainly has been earned a lot of well-deserved attention for his eye for coaching in game situations and being able to communicate with people. I think the next step is to see, which former managers, if any, the Tigers talk to. And there's going to be a waiting game on that because the two biggest former managerial names out there, AJ Hinch and Alex Cora, can't talk to teams until the end of the World Series after they serve out their MLB-issued suspensions. So now the trick is that now that the White Sox have parted ways with Rick Renteria, there's one extra job open, and it's an awfully appealing one. The White Sox window to win is right now. So it's, there's going to be competition out there. So I think it's a very puzzle with this managerial search, even though right now you only have 3 openings around the league so far.
Jason, I know that there's no crying in baseball, but I am also kind of wondering, is there loyalty in baseball? Many of these candidates have ties to the Tigers organization. Will that play in Detroit's favor, do you think?
I think there's a familiarity factor that plays into it, in which, the Tigers know about Marcus Thames' character. They know he's a stand-up guy and a really A-plus personality, and also a really well-respected player and leader. He really was one of those guys who was respected in all circles of that clubhouse back when he was a player. And that makes a difference when you try to look, especially at a guy who hasn't managed before, and you try to look at not just can they make game decisions and evaluate, but can they garner the respect of a major league clubhouse? With a guy like Marcus, having that playing knowledge makes a difference. With a guy like Don Kelly, having that knowledge makes a difference. Plus, the guys who manage those guys, especially Jim Leland, he has influence. He has a say in this process because he's a well-respected voice right now in the Tigers front office as a special assistant. Alan Trammell managed Marcus Thames when he first came up in Detroit. He's a well-respected presence as a special assistant. So, yeah, I think that familiarity, while it's not necessarily going to be the deciding factor, I think is huge in terms of knowing how these guys tick and trying to get a read as far as whether they're going to be or whether they have the potential to be effective leaders. And even George Lombard, while he didn't play under Trammell or Leland, he was in training camp in spring training under Trammell in 2000 by Tampa Bay. And George Lombard carries a ton of respect around the league.
It will definitely be an interesting situation, Jason. And of course, we will be following that closely right here on the Word on Woodward. Before I wrap, I'm going to ask you one quick question, and it has to be a quick answer. Who are you taking in the World Series? Who's going to win it all?
You know what? I'm going to go with the Rays. I was going to say the Dodgers. The Dodgers looked indestructible for a while, but abilities, and that bullpen creates questions for me right now.
Man, the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Tampa Bay Rays.
Hey, Jason, real quickly, is there a connection between Matthew Stafford and Clayton Kershaw? That's what I've heard. I know nothing about that.
I've heard rumors about it, but nothing. I wish somebody could go back to like high school to see if they were connected in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, boy, that's that. Well, you brush up on that and let us know what that connection is.
Definitely.
I'm going to see if anybody has written about it.
There you go.
Next thing you know, somebody will be saying Jerome Bettis was from Detroit. It's
Bettis is from Detroit. Whoa! I better write that down.
Well, Jason, thank you so much for joining us again today. We really appreciate it. We'll definitely having you back soon. And of course, a big thank you to McLaren Healthcare for presenting Brush Street Beat this week and every week right here on The Word on Woodward. Now, you guys, we're going to get into our headliner for today, and it is Kris Draper, Director of Amateur Scouting, that joined Art Regner earlier today.
Thank you, Daniela. It is time for the headliner presented by Miller Lite. Let's bring in former Red Wing great, the center of the legendary, the Director of Amateur Scouting for the Detroit Red Wings, Kris Draper. Kris, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure, Art. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
You know, you've had a week to digest the draft. Now that you look back on it, how different of an experience was it for you compared to other drafts you participated in?
I mean, obviously, this was the first draft that I was, basically running and in charge, and I had two, obviously a great scouting staff. My chief amateur scouts, Jesse Wallen and Ryan Rozmierski, and then director of European amateur scouting, Håkan Anderson. They were incredible. Basically this whole year, and especially over with the shutdown over the last 6 months of gathering information, players, interviewing players, reevaluating lists, reevaluating players. It was a great process, but you know what? It definitely is different, and I think for my first draft and having as many picks as we had, it was busy, and especially in the second round. Obviously, we started off day two, and then there's a lot of moving parts. Some players going off the board. That's just the way the draft is, and we kind of had to adjust on the fly there. But overall, we're happy and pleased with the way that the draft went, and time will tell. We drafted 17 and 18-year-old prospects. And there's, now they know that there's a lot of work, to be done for them to go from being a prospect to being a Red Wing. But with that said, our player development staff is outstanding with Sean Horkoff, Dan Cleary, Nicholas Cronwall, and Brandon Arado.
Well, the reason I ask is because it seemed the setup. I know you had a room, and you were sitting there with some of the people. I know Steve was quarantining himself, so he was at his house. I assume you had guys in other places in the world, because usually you're all sitting at one table with a big card that has a Red Wing logo, and you're able to talk. So it didn't really hinder anything. It was just the logistics were a little different, but you were still able to pretty much have all the conversations you needed to have. There was no breakdown in communication.
No, absolutely not. Our IT department did a fantastic job. We had for the entire, basically for the entire first round, we had everyone on Microsoft Teams call. I had, some of our scouts in the room, but the majority of our scouts were on the Microsoft Teams call, and obviously, like you said, with Stevie back home. So that was obviously right there the entire time, being able to communicate, being able to discuss players. It was certainly unique, just kind of like everything has been over the last 6 months. But there was never any issue whatsoever. And anytime we discussed a player, anytime we were going to make a selection, I had I had the entire staff on a Teams call, and we would discuss that before we up making that final selection. So no problems at all, no glitches. Everything worked perfect.
When and I'll stop geeking out. We'll get into some of the picks here. But Steve made 4 moves that day. When he's making moves, how soon are you prepared to pick? And then he calls and says, "All right, hey, I traded down, picked up another pick, so we're not picking right now." Does that really happen very, very quickly?
It did go quick. Teams call up and running the entire time, so we were kind of we were, had my list right there, had our list right there, and we're kind of looking as things are going up. And, the discussion was if a player is selected before, do you want to trade back and acquire another pick? So, Stevie was right there. He was hands-on. He was communicating. We had no problems at all with that. So that's pretty well how that went through. So, like I said, a little different than what it would be in person as you're sitting there and walking up and talking to other general managers, and some things are coming. But, my job was to be prepared, to make the pick until something else happened. And, that's kind of, that's what I was supposed to do. Stay focused, stay true to the list. And if I was ready to pick, I was going to select a player. And if we were going to trade back, then, I'd be ready to, to move back and then be ready to go when it's our time to pick a player.
Let's look into the draft here. 6 forwards, 5 defensemen in the 12 picks that the Red Wings had in the NHL draft. Starting off with Lucas Raymond, a high-end forward. I remember being at the Summer Showcase last summer, and he and Lafreniere, I guess, were like the talk. Everybody came to see specifically those two players. I know he played in the men's league, probably didn't get as much ice time as he was hoping for. I'm kind of curious, Kris, from what I've heard is that at the end of the day, when you guys had your talks and the 4 or 5 players you were really looking at, it always came back to Lucas Raymond. What about Lucas Raymond made you pick him 4th overall?
You know what? We think we have, one heck of a hockey player, a very intelligent hockey player, very passionate. The one thing that Håkan Andersson, when he describes Lucas Raymond, he really talks about his inner drive. Is a prospect that really believes in himself. He holds himself to a high standard. The things that I liked, and his underage year was fantastic. He was going, head to head with obviously a lot of the top players, especially that USA 01 development team was probably the best in the history of the program, and Lucas Raymond was right there with all those guys as an underage. So I think that was something that I kept coming back to, and every time we watched him, his underage year, the bigger the game, the bigger the moment, it seemed, he rose to the occasion. And nothing, you go to the gold medal game, his underage year in Sweden. He ends up getting a hat trick and obviously the OT winning goal, which is something pretty special for a 17-year-old to do. He did have it was a tough year last year. There's no doubt about it. And Lucas would be the first one to say that was the case. But it was a huge learning experience for him. He had to face adversity. There was some tough nights where he didn't play. There was some nights where I was there when, for basically 2.5 periods, he didn't get a lot of ice time. And then, all of a sudden in the final 10 minutes, you saw some special things that he could do. So we feel that we have a high-skilled player. We're big fans of his hockey sense and the way he thinks the game. And he has the ability to make players around him better. That's what we kept coming back to.
In the second round with the first pick of the second round. So I like the first round A, William Wallander, again, projected maybe even to be in the first round. I would imagine, I know you have options every time you pick, but was he almost a no-brainer when you saw he was there at 32?
You know what? We were excited. We have a 6'4" defenseman. That's a really good skater, can really skate with the puck, moves the puck well. The thing with William is, definitely he has to continue to get bigger and stronger. But, you just kind of look through, the NHL and obviously the teams that are coming. There's a lot of teams that, build, size on the back end. And we were able to get, a defender, that's a very good skater with good size. And so exactly like you said, I mean, you sit there and you want to talk about every pick. You want to talk about, every scenario. But in the end, starting the day of day 2, we felt that William was going to be a good fit for what we're building with the Detroit Red Wings, especially building on the back end with the Detroit Red Wings.
Well, up next, and I don't know what it is about this. The more I read about him, the more I like him. Your next pick, you went with Theodor Niederbach, and I know he was hurt for almost an entire season, but since he's come back from injury, he has just been fantastic, number one. And Steve said something interesting when talking about him. You know, sometimes, I guess in the past, you might pass on an injured player, but he's learned that regardless if they're injured or not, if they're healthy, that injury shouldn't play a factor. So I would assume that wasn't a factor for you. You saw him available, and bam, you grabbed him.
Yeah, I mean, you know, part of my job is to really find out about all these prospects. And Håkan Andersson and Thomas Carlson, our Swedish scouts over there, did an unbelievable job gathering information about the injury. I talked to our team doctors about it. In the gym, on the ice, is there any restrictions at all? And he was able to go full on with his training. You know, so we were getting nothing but positive reports back from Theodor Niederbach. You know, going in last year to Sweden and watching, you know, Frölunda, the men's team, and then obviously the opportunity to watch Frölunda on the J20 team. And, you know, like you said, very, very high skilled centerman, right shot centerman. He can really think the game. And you know, he's playing catch up right now to a lot of his peers, you know, after missing a year of hockey. But he's off to a great start. You know, he's a player that wants the puck on a stick. He can make plays in tight. He can really think the game, and we're looking at, you know, a highly skilled center, a position that you know, certainly we wanted to continue to add on. So, and you know, once again, Håkan Andersson and Thomas Carlson were real big fans of Theodor Niederbach. So as we're, you know, sitting there and as we're discussing, you know, we just kept talking about, you know, getting skill, you know, getting hockey sense, getting smart hockey players, getting competitive hockey players, and a centerman. And it just kind of made sense for us to make that selection.
I know we're running out of time, unfortunately, but I really wanted to ask you about a couple of more players and then maybe get a final overview about the draft and what's up next for you. But Jan Bednash, depending, I guess, on what part of the world you're from, but that goaltender, I was stunned he was available when you picked him at 107, I believe, overall. Many reports had him as maybe perhaps the best goaltender, and I know goaltenders it's tough to gauge, but were you surprised that he was there? And again, I hate to use this expression, but another no-brainer. We needed a goaltender. Everyone assumed Detroit was going to take a goaltender, and lo and behold, you get maybe the best one on the board.
Yeah, we were excited. And you know what, Art, you just never know how the draft is going to go. And that's the one thing that I certainly learned this year. You know, everyone talks about how unpredictable it is, and you're not sure what, you know, for us, what the other 30 teams, you know, are thinking on draft day and on their board. With Phil O'Sear, who does our goaltending scouting and development, you know, we had a lot of conversations with him. You know, the two best games I saw him play were against Team USA, and both times he was excellent. Big goalie, athletic goalie. You know, the one thing you know that you know, it's tough right now. He's kind of not sure where he's going to be able to play this year with obviously the borders closing. He was supposed to come over and play in the CHL, so hopefully that'll happen sooner rather than later. But Phil O'Sear's been in contact with him, you know, a lot, and kind of discussing what the plan is going forward. But he's very excited to be part of the Detroit Red Wing organization. We talked about having, you know, to me, one of the, you know, to me, the greatest goaltender of all time, Dominik Hasek, obviously from the Czech Republic, his home country. And the one thing, you know, that we keep talking about with, you know, Dom was a guy, his practice habits were off the charts. He was unbelievable. He's the most competitive player that I practice with. And those are the conversations that we're having with Jan. And that's what we expect from him, you know, to have those type of practice habits. You know, so it's been great. Yuri Fisher has talked to him. Vladimir Havlui, our Czech scout, have talked to him. We've talked to the family, and they're so thrilled and excited to be part of the Detroit Red Wing organization. And, you know, we drafted a 6'4" goaltender who we were very high on.
I have to ask you about this young man. I mean, I can remember him being a little guy with that flaming red hair, walking around the Red Wing room at different stages in his life. Keenan Draper, I know it's been a week or so. I mean, just how cool was that, Kris? I mean, you know, being able to say your son's name.
It was very special. You know, I'm real proud of Keenan and the work that he's put in. And when you start talking about, what a Detroit Red Wing is. And that's what we're doing. We're educating all the prospects that we drafted right now. And Keenan grew up in that environment. He saw his dad of how passionate and to this day, how passionate I am to be a Detroit Red Wing, as a former player and now obviously director of amateur scouting. So it was a great day. And Keenan has really, put the work in. He's almost 6'2" right now. He's 193 pounds. He's playing out in Chilliwack, BC. And the thing that I'm most proud of everything is, just the passion that he has for the game of hockey. And then obviously the passion he has to, for the Detroit Red Wing organization. So, he's going to continue to put the work in. He's going to do everything he can and go above and beyond. And, it was obviously a real special day for myself and a real special day for my family as well.
Well, certainly, I think we're all excited about it. Continued. I know you. I know you work 24/7, 365. So continue grinding it away. No pun intended there too, grinding away. But we always appreciate it. Best of luck in everything, and congratulations to you, and congratulations to Keenan for being drafted into the NHL. Thank you very, very much.
Yeah, thanks, Art. I appreciate it. And, back to you and all the listeners, everyone stay safe and stay healthy, okay? And as always, go Wings.
Definitely go Wings. That'll do it for this edition of The Headliner, presented by Miller Lite. It is the original light. It's only 96 calories. It tastes delicious, and it's available for delivery. Daniela, back to you.
Thank you, Art. And of course, another thank you to Kris Draper for joining Art and the Word on Woodward. Right now, we're going to get into Let's Socialize, presented by AAA. And of course, Carly is going to join us for this one too, you guys. I do have to mention, though, because it's always so fun talking about Keenan Draper being a Red Wing now too. And I think it was Art's question, the media, after he was drafted, Art asked him if he calls Steve Yzerman Mr. Yzerman or Steve or what it is. And he said, it's always been Mr. Yzerman, and it's going to continue to be that way. He didn't even hesitate.
Yeah. I usually call him Mr. Yzerman as well, and I haven't known him my whole life. So,
well, he insists. Well, he insists I call him Mr. Yzerman. That's why I always call him Steve.
All right, Carly, what do you got for us today?
All right. So, first question I have is up for Art. So, Art, we have a question from one of the fans on my Instagram. Best hands on the Wings. Who is it?
Wow. Best hands on the Wings. They have, and they're getting more and more. I'd almost like to say Lucas Raymond and just get everyone off frothing at the mouth. And why isn't he on the roster? But you know who I think has probably underrated hands? I mean, Big Tony has great hands. BT Express has great hands. But I really think I would say Dylan Larkin. I know that might be an odd pick, but he's a center. Dylan can thread passes. He's a great stick handler. I forget which game it was, but it was the game where he skated through all five guys and scored a goal. Dipping and doing, and he works at it. So I would say probably. Best hands is probably Dylan Larkin. Now I know there's probably a few fans out there say, well, there's a couple times he missed a wide open net. Everybody misses a wide open net. I mean, they always are looking up to the hockey guides. Right? So I would say at this point, I really think that great hands. I guess if I really wanted to cop out, I'd say hopefully the goaltender has great hands. But I would say Dylan Larkin.
All right, that question was from Lucas Gatto 5 on Instagram. And then this next question is for Daniela. All right, we have who's been your favorite interview so far from Jay Gala 0317. I don't know if that's player interview or if that's just who's been your favorite interview ever. So go ahead. I guess you can take
either way. I'll go with Wow Guess.
Wow.
And we're going to go back to the days where Art's Power was out. So I got to do some interviews by myself.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So, okay, well, I'm leaving. That's it. I'm walking off the set.
I'm just messing with you, Art. But one of my favorite interviews does happen to fall on one of those days. And that was when Ron and Carol Gardenhire joined us for, it was kind of, it was a goodbye. It was kind of sad that it was after Ron announced his retirement. So they were traveling across the country and they joined us just to share some final thoughts. And we said, that the Tigers put together, just thanking Gardy. And I know Carly's going to agree with me because she is Gardy's #1 fan. And it was great. He was such a great guy. He was a great manager for the Tigers, even in the short time that he was here. And we miss him. And his personality's great. Carol was great in the interview too. So it was a lot of fun.
Love it. You guys know I love Gardy, so that was a good answer. Okay, last but not least, I don't know if Daniela, I'm sure you have, but there's somewhat of a viral video going around. I can't remember what the guy's name is on Instagram, but he is skateboarding down the street, drinking some cranberry juice, one of those big jugs. So Anthony Mantha decided to take it upon himself to remake that video. So we don't have audio on it now, but behind that video is Fleetwood Mac Dreams. So Art, can you take it away and kind of give us a little bit of the song while on the street?
Wait. Is he skateboarding?
He's skateboarding.
Okay, number one, BT. Let me give you a little. I know you're the Express and you like to go fast, but buddy, you're still in contract negotiations. You should not be skateboarding and drinking cranberry juice. All right. I'm not saying you're not the most coordinated guy, but come on now.
He could be a good skateboarder. You don't know. But Art, let's hear it.
Are you sure he's skateboarding? Dreams. Is that the one? Well, here you go again. I want my freedom.
No, it's
Who am I?
Thunder only happens when.
Yeah, that's the same song. See, I'm a big Fleetwood Mac fan, but I'm a Fleetwood Mac fan with Peter Green and Jeremy Spencer. Not that I don't like the Lindsey Buckingham, Stevie Nicks edition, because that's when they became big. But that old Fleetwood Mac, and there's a great album. You can't get it anymore, but if you could, try it. It's a double album called Fleetwood Mac Live in Chicago, and it's them with all the old Chicago bluesmen playing blues. And I mean, it's outstanding. So, but Big Tony, I'm worried about you, buddy. Get that contract signed, then you can go skiing for all I care. Jump out of a hot air balloon. But do not be drinking and skateboarding at the same time. We need you on the ice. Just don't do it, BT. I'm telling you, I've got your best interest at heart. You know that.
It's not like he's like free diving with great white sharks. I mean, he was just skating down a street, drinking some.
He was going pretty slow too.
Look, yeah, but the luck that
40 miles per hour.
Look, I know he's a fun-loving guy, and but I'm giving him brotherly advice here. It just would be his luck to be having a good time. And maybe he hits like a rut in the road or something, and then the cranberry juice splashes all over his face, and then he takes a tumble or something, And the next thing we know, BT is BT is up at looking at his knee, and he tweaked it or something. Do not do that.
Injury too much today. We're done.
Well, I'm worried. I'm worried because listen, he's at least a 40 goal scorer. He needs to be on the ice. I'm sure that Mr. Yzerman. He was skateboarding.
Stacy, what was he doing?
We just got confirmation from
Stacy. From Stacy.
Boss Lady and Boss Man.
Yeah, Boss Lady and Boss Man. Andrew Kristoff and Stacy Burlingame said he was skateboarding. What did I say he was doing? Oh, he was not. Oh, okay. What was he doing? Like walking really? He was sliding on concrete?
Fooled you. The Red Wings TikTok fooled you.
Oh, I don't even know. TikTok. Isn't that outlawed yet?
Well, I can tell you, he was riding on the back of a cart.
Oh, okay. All right.
sitting-
That's fine. That's fine then. Everything I just said the last 3 minutes, my freak out, PT, I take it back.
See, they wouldn't put our players in harm's way like that, Art.
They got me with that. That was good.
You know,
That was 75.
Anthony, you think? I mean, that was, I mean, the way he moved around, he created some mood, and you're not sure what is Big Tony going to do? What's the Express up to? And then he just nonchalantly just drinks his cranberry juice. He must have been thirsty. I mean, what was it? Like a 4-gallon jug?
Yeah.
I mean, he's a big man, you know.
You know, Anthony only gets injured when he's fighting. So it's nice to see him just strolling along on the back of a car. I don't think he's going to get injured that way.
Well, I know after this segment, he's probably going to take a punch at me, but, you know, hopefully. As long as he doesn't hit me in the head, everything else is kind of soft and puffy. But I have a hard head.
Oh, all right. You're beautiful just the way you are.
Thank you, Carly.
You're very welcome. Anyway, this has been fun.
Yeah. It has been.
All right. I don't know what else to say.
I know.
Yeah, you
Kind of
do
an
have
awkward
one more
pause
thing.
there.
Oh, I do have one more thing. Oh, we wanted to give a special, very special. Thanks, Daniela. We wanted to give a very, very special happy birthday. Hello. A special happy birthday to the iconic Willie O'Ree. A very, very happy birthday to him, indeed. Art, can you sing happy birthday?
Sing today.
I can do my Marilyn Monroe impression of John F. Kennedy. Happy birthday. No, I can't because it's Willie O'Ree. He's a tough hockey player. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mr. Willie O'Ree. Happy birthday to you.
What note was that?
I cannot sing. I can clear a room very, very quickly.
That was beautiful. But
Carly,
you guys have.
Carly, you should be my agent.
I was.
Actually, I guess you are when I think about it.
Boss man's not going to like that.
Oh, boss man and boss lady, it's the three of you.
Okay, I get it. All
right, guys. Carly, thank you. It's always fun. And happy birthday to Willie O'Ree.
Thank you, Willie. Birthday. Thank you, Carly. Thank you, Daniela.
Thank you, Art. And a big thank you to AAA. AAA says thank you. It's free roadside assistance for first responders and healthcare workers fighting to defeat COVID-19. You protect us by going to work every day. Let AAA protect you on the way there and back. And guys, we have made it to the end of another Word on Woodward. Thank you so much for joining us. It's always great to have you all watching the show and interacting with us on Facebook. And of course, make sure that you check out our Fox Sports Detroit draft review show that will air on Fox Sports Detroit tonight at 5 p.m. It will feature Ken Kale, Art Regner, Ken Daniels, Trevor Thompson, and John Keating. They spend some time with Steve Yzerman himself talking about the draft. So again, tonight at 5 p.m. on Fox Sports Detroit. If you missed anything in this edition of the Word on Woodward, make sure you check out our Word on Woodward YouTube page. All our interviews are up there, or you can listen to the show as a podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. We will be back next Tuesday at noon, so make sure you're tuning in then too. We'll see you then.